Welcome everybody. It's episode 310 of the Severe MMA podcast, joined today by the Dennis Irwin of Irish MMA Media, Graham McDonald, as we talk about a busy enough weekend and a busy week actually in the world of mixed martial arts, and we will get into all of that. But before we do that, we must tell you that this episode of the podcast is supported by Manscaped. And Manscaped is the biggest and best men's below-the-waist grooming. And there's big news coming out of Manscaped this week, because Manscaped even have just released their cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over at all times. Who knew smelling this good could feel this good too? Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below-the-waist grooming needs. I know, Graham, we both got our shipment of the Manscaped cologne this week. And I'll tell you this, and honestly, if this cologne was bad, right, I would probably lie to you and tell you it was good anyway. But this is the longest lasting cologne I have ever used in my life, and for me, and I know someone as well, we're going back out, there's going to be restaurants and pubs open now and something as well. I'm the kind of one who goes out, right, 8 o'clock, and you want to still be smelling that cologne at fucking 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is that cologne. I'm giving you that guarantee. This is that cologne. It is the longest lasting cologne I've ever had. It is absolutely brilliant. And everyone knows Manscaped has, you know, the perfect package 3.0 as well, which we've talked about for the last while here, and it's absolutely perfect. And they didn't stop with just that. And you can complete your grooming game with the new refined cologne, as I just mentioned, which is a signature scent by Manscaped. With the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection. Light, approachable and gentlemanly in all the right ways. Think of it as your wingman on the night to keep you fresh and ready for anything. Calming and inviting, this signature scent introduces a light citrus burst before settling into the anchoring notes of vetiver, I'm not sure what that is, and a woodsy masculine finish. That definitely is that. This 50 ml spray cologne is even hypoallergenic, cruelty-free, dye-free, paraben-free, and 100% vegan. So don't be drinking it though. I don't know, even if it's vegan. This beautifully designed glass bottle, and it is a nice bottle, makes a statement, and a manly scent is attractive to set the mood. Also, be sure to check out, as I mentioned, the Perfect Package 3.0 with the essentials for your below-the-waist grooming from the Lawnmower 3.0. Where is it? I have it here. Hold on. There you go. To all the different crop formulations. Yes, I'm talking about ball deodorant and ball toner to keep your testes their besties. And now you can use the new Manscaped Refined Cologne to complete your set and smell great anytime, anywhere. It's time to feel sexy. We're getting back out on the road. We're getting back into hotels. We're getting back out into restaurants here over the next 6 weeks or so in Ireland, and I'm sure the other parts of the world as well. So it's time to feel sexy again. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SEVEREMMA at manscaped.com. Your balls and body will thank you. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SEVEREMMA at manscaped.com. 20% off, free shipping, code SEVEREMMA at manscaped.com. Look good, smell good, feel good with Manscaped and SEVEREMMA. Right, Graham, here we go. Big week in the world of MMA. We're recording this here not an hour and a half before Man United play Liverpool, but we leave that aside for a minute to talk about. To me, do you know, sometimes we come on this podcast and we have like, I have a point to make, or like we might have like something that's happened during the week, and something, you know, very bad or very good has happened, and we always we try to start it with that, and then the fights as well. To me, the main event. This is one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, honestly, and you can't start it anywhere but that this week on the podcast. I saw last night I went to bed. I was like, right, I'll go to bed here for an hour. I'll wake up. I might miss the first couple of prelims. If anything happens, I can go back and watch them, and then I'll watch the rest. And I woke up at 9 o'clock this morning, so I managed to avoid spoilers and everything like that. And I got up, got myself an old breakfast roll, and sat down and watched the fights. And honestly, I was expecting this to be a good fight. I was chatting with Dan Tom and a couple of other people on Twitter during the week about this, and I was like, right, this is going to be a banger. I haven't gone back and did the rewatch for both of these guys. I knew this was going to be a good fight, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. Honestly, this was an instant classic. Just two lads putting it on the line non-stop for, what was it, almost exactly 2 rounds, 30 seconds before the end of the second round. An absolutely brilliant fight. I loved it. Were you as happy with it as me, Graham? I know a lot of people. I didn't see the reaction last night, so maybe you were up watching it. But were you as proclaiming this as a great fight so quickly as me.
Yeah, I was up watching it live, and it was definitely a fight I thought would be an interesting, matchup, and I thought it would be a good striking battle. But it was definitely better than expected. Like, you can't really expect a fight to be like a kind of barn burner, as Noel McGrath would say, like that. And obviously, sometimes these main events can end up being a little bit cagey, but fair play to them. They went out there. They both absolutely went for it. Like, Reyes was taking shots, but he was still trying to give it back. He wasn't backing down, and I think it was to his detriment in the end. But it made for a really exciting back and forth fight, and obviously a brutal highlight reel spinning elbow knockout, which that's fucking absolutely one of the best, if not the best, spinning elbow knockouts we've seen.
Yeah, I remember. Do you know what the fighter reminded? Also, we must mention at the minute, Graham's on his backup microphone here as the lead microphone chatting about this morning.
Yeah, we spent like an hour trying to get it working, but
and actually,
this new Windows update.
Yeah, I just got a text as well saying that the Liverpool Man United match might be called off because there's Man United fans on the pitch at Old Trafford. But however, that's another thing. Hopefully, by the time people listen to this, it's been all sorted out. But we'll.
I think that's the refs. Yeah, the Man United fans on the pitch.
Yeah, hopefully the replacement mics will be on the way anyways. By this time next week, and hopefully the match will have played by this time next week anyway. But we'll get through it anyway. And the sound isn't too bad, I don't think. So we will have it sorted by next week. But anyway, do you know what this fight reminded me of? It reminded me of Yair Rodriguez versus the Korean Zombie. Now, it didn't go 5 rounds. It didn't end in the last second. But I'm pretty sure, just when we look here, yeah, it won fight of the night and performance of the night as well, so knockout of the night for Prochazka. And it was that, you couldn't not give this fight of the night, and you could not give it knockout of the night. I didn't watch all the fights in their entirety, but I went back and watched the finishes and all of that, and it was just a magical fight. The big difference I think in this fight was the amount of damage that Prochazka could take without it even looking like he was taking damage compared to Reyes. Reyes in the past, he's taken shots. Reyes takes a lot of shots, and there's two things in MMA, and two different sorts of chins in it, or three different sorts of chins, I suppose you can get. There's grey chins, there's chins that you take one shot on and you get knocked out, and then there's guys with chins that they take shots and it looks really bad on them. It looks like they're hurt constantly, but they survive. I think Reyes is one of those guys. He's not a guy who, takes one handy shot and he gets fucking sparked. But he is the type of guy who will take a big shot and he'll get hurt, and take another big shot and get hurt again. And it looks so bad, especially, I know, if it goes, say, 5 rounds or goes to the judges or whatever, and he's fighting someone like that. I think in this fight, it gave Prochazka such heart and everything that Prochazka was doing, it was having an effect on Reyes. And I actually thought, as the fight was going and as Reyes wasn't getting finished, I was like, this guy's going to tire, and then Reyes is going to catch him, because Reyes is actually, I think he looked more hurt at times than he actually was, and Prochazka was just throwing and non-stop. But at the end of the fight, but before we even get to the knockout or anything, I looked at Prochazka, and he wasn't even breathing that hard. When you go at that pace as a light heavyweight for, 9 minutes, 29 seconds, and you're not tired, that is a very, very good sign that you can do it like that. And when you have such a good chin, it's absolutely, it's a frightening thought for the other light heavyweights, just because how dynamic, how varied he is, just so good in every way. But it takes two to make a fight, and I thought Dominic Reyes came out and he threw his shots. My prediction before it was Prochazka's style would bring out this Dominic Reyes. I think there can be two Dominic Reyes. The one we saw against John Jones, who is kind of more technical. And I suppose we have to see that against John Jones because it's John Jones. You have to be a kind of a more technical 5-round fighter. But Reyes is also a guy who will go out and he will trade with you, and he will try to just land the bigger shot than you land on him. And when you're fighting someone like Prochazka, that's a tough thing to do, but he still did it. The one thing I would say for Reyes was, I think if he could have been first, it would have been better. If he had, like, I think the head kick was wide open all day, and instead of waiting for Prochazka to come in, and it wasn't waiting, it was like Prochazka was kind of forcing it, but if he had been able to just break that battle and win that battle to be first and landed, say, the body kick, leg kick, and then head kick, he did it a couple of times where he threw low, and then he was Prochazka was a step inside the distance for Reyes to land that left high kick, and it just wasn't on. So if he had been able to do that, I think he could have landed. I think that was a shot, really, and I think that maybe the straight left down the middle as well. But Prochazka is so good at just getting inside and making it tough and landing all those, those shots inside, and he's just a juggernaut of a fighter altogether. He's so big and so strong as well. And I think Cormier tweeted it actually last night. He made it the first time he's ever made a good point, but he said he uses his cardio as a weapon, and that was actually, it's very smart that what Cormier saw there, because he does. It's like, if you don't have unbelievable cardio and you play that game, you'll get loads of first round knockouts. You might get early second round knockouts, but you'll also get like late second round submissions or TKOs or third round or fourth round losses, but Prochazka seems to have that cardio as well. And it's very fun because they're all talking now about it's going to be Glover Teixeira versus Jan Blachowicz for the title, and then it's going to be Prochazka. So you have like these two old school veterans against a guy who is, you call him a veteran because I think he's over 30 fights. I was looking at his record, 28 and something this morning I was watching the fight. A lot of fights anyway, but he is kind
28, 3-1.
Yeah, he is the new breed though, isn't he? And I think that's fun. You've kind of the old lads who've been around for a long time and this new guy coming through. It makes a fun picture, doesn't it? The light heavyweight division with John Jones kind of gone out of it.
Yeah, it does. It needs some like fresh, exciting blood, and we have it here. Like, that's a big statement in a main event. I think Dominic Reyes, obviously, he went very close to John Jones, but I think this style matchup was nice. But he looks like he's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. He's I think he's still not even 30. He's under 30, I believe. He's had 33 or 32 fights. So he's only lost 3 times, and he seems to be on a serious streak all the way back 5.5 years to when he lost to Mohamed Lawal, King Mo. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's like, this fresh blood is absolutely vital for these divisions, especially these heavier divisions that have kind of stagnated a bit. Like, obviously it's great to see Glover Teixeira getting a title shot, but it kind of shows that division maybe isn't that deep. It used to be kind of known as the best division in the UFC back in the day with Chuck and Randy and Ito and all them. But it has gone stale. But things like this, a spinning elbow knockout in an absolute barn burner of a fight in a main event against a guy that people know from a Jones fight is a huge statement and a huge win. And, I think a lot of people will be very interested to see where he goes from here. And I'll be very interested to see what the UFC do with him. Like, I don't know what you see them doing with him. Like, all this talk of rushing him into a title shot, like, I think that makes sense. He's experienced. He's on a win streak. He fought some like good guys in Rising. I know, like CB Dollaway, Maldonado are basically past their best, but he got that win back against Mohamed Lawal, and he's definitely wanted for the top of the division. But do you think the UFC will put him in there now, or do you think the UFC will kind of build him up and put him in a few more kind of barn burner fights to kind of get the excitement built?
I think the UFC will put him in there straight away, because like I know Brendan Fitzgerald said it on the broadcast, and maybe that's not always the best source in the world, I suppose. Not Brendan Fitzgerald, but on broadcast proclamations. But unless John Jones comes back down, I think he is the one. He is the next one coming up. He's made it exciting. I know he's only had a few fights in the UFC, but you go in there and you beat Ozdemir, you beat Reyes, and you're there. That's all you need really in that division. And
in terms of like competition, yeah, but in terms of getting fans interested in, do you think another exciting matchup before might be, I think you put him in there against any of the guys, and it's going to be an exciting matchup, but yeah, you can put him in exactly against somebody like that, a Johnny Walker, has a bit of a name and is an exciting guy himself and is willing to, to trade. think that would be a nice fight, but it obviously would be a step back from Uzdemir and Reyes.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what we've been talking about recently with the kind of the updated UFC matchmaker, if you want to call it that. They are moving,
rushing everybody to the top.
Yeah, and because you do
sink or swim.
Yeah, because you do that, you're taking a step back. If you do, like I often thought that Johnny Walker fight would be a very good fight, but like that's even a step back from Uzdemir in terms of, maybe not now, but at the time, the rankings, and it's definitely a step back now in terms of rankings, in terms of where they've gone from Dominic Reyes. So, you know, I'm sure there's someone else there, and there might be another fight there as well. But we'll get to knockout in a second, but now that we're talking about this, I think it's a very exciting matchup between look, we've talked about Glover and Jan Blachowicz before. And just to look past him a second, because we're on Prochazka, but that's a great fight. We'll talk about that fight in a second. But let's say Blachowicz wins it, and I'll talk about Glover wins it in a second. But if Blachowicz wins it, isn't that exactly kind of what we want? Because what we saw from Blachowicz in the last fight against Adesanya was a guy who has the ability to kind of work out a style of kickboxing and work out a really varied, good style that Adesanya has, and it's a different sort of style. It's a more technical style, I suppose, or like basic technical style, and that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I think throwing fucking basics in kickboxing and boxing is you know, if you have good basics, you're going to beat everyone. But so he beat that, and can he beat this style as well? I think that's very. I'd be very enthusiastic about that. And if it's Glover. We saw Prochazka taken down by Reyes last night, and we know how good Glover's wrestling is. I think it's a damn sight better than Reyes's. Now, Glover, early in fights, he takes a lot of shots as well, usually to get into that takedown. But if he can survive that early going and take him down, you know, he will test that wrestling, but he'll also test that cardio, and we'll see if Prochazka truly has that. So, to me, it's a very interesting matchup, and obviously, you know, in time we will talk about Glover versus Blachowicz itself as well. So, but you know, I think the point you're kind of making, and the point I probably would have made as well when he came into the UFC, is that build him up, get him the UFC, I suppose, experience, make people like him, and make him really ready for it. I think he is really ready for it. Like we don't see this that often anymore. I know you've kind of said it with McGregor. When he came into the UFC, he was ready for 2 or 3 fights and then to get to the title, you know. Or we've seen it with other guys before who are at their best when they almost get to the UFC, like even a Michael Chandler right now. I know he's a very different kind of example because he was at the very top in the second biggest organisation, but it has happened before like this, where you know, guys have had 25, 30 fights and come into the UFC, or even 20 fights or 15 fights and being ready for the top. It's just kind of getting past people, and if there had been a few more opportunities, I suppose it would have been better, but the light heavyweight division is not the best division in the world, and it was kind of, I suppose, bound to happen when you have someone as good as Prochazka coming in there. But look, I'm excited. And on the knockout itself, like, I think it's funny that John Jones constantly threw that technique, and he got a few, I think he hurt Stephen Bonner with it. I think he might have hurt Shogun with it as well, but I don't think he ever got, he never got a clean knockout like Prochazka got with it either, though. And I think that was kind of cool as well, because it was a kind of a nod to, like, not you know, specifically from Prochazka, but I suppose to the hardcores and stuff. It's like, oh, he's throwing this John Jones technique, but maybe a little bit better, you know, and being a little bit more exciting and finishing guys. I know John Jones had only been tweeting about not finishing guys before, so it was kind of cool to kind of see that, I suppose. I'm not saying like he's as good or better than John Jones, but if that fight was to happen down the line, if he became champion, I would absolutely love to see that fight. But yeah, it just feels like sometimes you watch a fight and you think it's the new era, you know, it's the Prochazka era, not to go full fucking Joe Rogan here, but you have 2 savvy veterans ahead of him in the rankings at the moment, and whoever he meets is going to give him a tough fight. So I'm really looking forward, and this fight itself was just such a great back and forth, so many shots landed. Like, I don't know if I've seen, I'm not a great one for stats or anything, but I was expecting them at the start of the second round to say the first round was like the most shots ever landed in the UFC light heavyweight fight or something. You know, it was one of those rounds. Just absolutely brilliant. If you haven't seen this fight, go out of your way to watch it, because it was fabulous. It was an absolutely fabulous fight. It was absolutely brilliant. So I'm looking forward to seeing. A
lot of people might go back and just see the spinning elbow knockout, but watch the whole fight because it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing Reyes fight again as well. You know, it's takes two to tango, as I mentioned earlier, and Reyes is a very, very good fighter as well, and a very exciting fighter, and he'll beat a lot of guys. And he is a guy who's only, he doesn't have that many fights in his career as well, and he will be back. And I would be surprised if Reyes didn't find a better. I think defensively is Reyes' issue. I think he needs to protect that chin a little bit more and stop getting hurt so many times throughout a fight. But I think last night showed he doesn't have that, Amir Khan chin where he gets hits and he hit and he's gone. He has a better chin than that, but he needs to protect himself a little bit more to stop getting hurt throughout the fight a couple of times like that. But however, the co-main event then was, I suppose the next coming as well, wasn't it, Graham? Like Giga Chikadze come in here and knocked out Cub Swanson in 63 seconds. I remember I was looking at the betting before this, and I was thinking, right, Jigga, we've seen him throw those big shots, but like Cub isn't the guy who gets finished. He's been knocked out. What is this? This was he was only knocked out once ever before in his whole career. Let me see when that was. I'm going through his career here. It was Jose. Oh yeah, that Jose Aldo one. Yeah, so I suppose a similar sort of quick kick. That was the only time back in 2009, 12 years ago. It was the only time he was never knocked out before, and Giga Chikadze made it look easy. And I've been a big Giga fan for his last few fights, watching his fights, and I'm like saying this guy is the next level. And I know, Cub. Say what you want about Cub. He's not. Look, he might have been overrated at some stage of his career, but Cub is a savvy veteran. He's been in there with some tough guys and not been finished like this. It says it all that Jose Aldo was the only guy to ever knock him out. And Chikadze hit him with that Giga kick, as he likes to call it, the liver kick, and just folded him like a deck chair. Just unbelievable stuff. And this guy, sometimes you see people and you're thinking as well, like they're the next level of strikers and they're the next level of MMA fighters. And now, look, maybe in a fight to come, Giga might fight a great wrestler, or he might fight someone who has who has a better game plan for him, or who has a good game plan for him. Not taking anything away from Cub, but this looks special, doesn't it? And he looks a special fighter. Are you as enthused about Giga for me? Like, to me, this was one of those nights where the top two fights, or watching them this morning even, it was the two winners is like, right, here we go. Here are new stars for me.
The
and
big
you.
statement coming out, kind of statement finishes. And obviously, I think he's had a couple of finishes with the body kick before and body work, and he mixes it up really nicely. And as you said, Cub is not a guy who's known to. Some guys, if you hit them to the body like a Cerrone or whatever, over the years you hit them in a certain spot, you kind of know they're finished. But as you said, 12 years and that kind of double jumping knee against Aldo is the only other time Cub's been finished. And I know he's getting on. He's had a lot of fights and all that stuff, but I expected Giga to win here, but I had a decision. But I definitely didn't expect him to just blow the doors off and just finish him in a minute and 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really really impressive performance, and he's like he looks confident. He looks like he can put it all together. He looks like a real prospect, as you said. He's definitely one to watch, and a win over somebody like Cub Swanson, who people know, is definitely a big statement, and do it in that fashion is obviously very impressive.
Yeah, and I think as well, like this is a good win over a good name that is probably setting him on the right trajectory. Cub is, I think they said Cub is ranked like 14 or something like that.
Exactly. There's a few steps to go before you can't really like pull him back. You know what I mean? Maybe the UFC won't do that because we don't really know what's going on at the moment with the matchmaking. It seems to just be thrown together more than it was in the past. But ideally, I think you'd give him a few matchups, kind of see if for example a good wrestler, what he does against a good wrestler before you stick him in there against the best wrestler in the division. So hopefully they give him a couple of fights. It seems like I'm always trying to hold guys back, but like if you look at Reyes, for example, like if he had been brought along slower, even though he did well in the Jones fight, it could have been a different story where he could have closed little holes in his game, maybe learn not to get hit so much, or it just seems like everybody's being rushed, and I hope that doesn't happen with all these prospects, but I fear it will.
Yeah, as you said there, he beat Cub. The next step, as you said, maybe a wrestler. What about Bryce Mitchell? Like Cub ranked 15, Jigga rank 14, Bryce Mitchell rank 11. I think that's a good fight. I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, didn't move him on to someone like, I think like Calvin Kattar was mentioned last night. That would be a good next step. And then if he's ready, someone like an Ortega, someone like a Holloway, and then onto a title shot, obviously, you know, Ortega and Volkanovski. So that's like a good 3-4 fight path over the next year to 18 months to get him to where he needs to get. Look, if he's not good enough, Bryce Mitchell will beat him. If he's not good enough, Kattar will beat him. If he's not good enough, you know, and it's not that he's not good enough, he just might not be at that level yet, but I think he...
And if he does lose to one of those guys, it's not like you're missing out on this huge payday by not making it happen now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be a bigger interest, or a bigger fight interest-wise, if he can go out there and put a couple more wins together against other highly ranked guys. So in the past, that would have been pretty much nailed on what would happen. That would be a guarantee. But now, you know, somebody could fall out and you could be in there against a number 2, number 3 guy, or anything could happen.
Yeah, or the UFC could, UFC could put him in against Max Holloway and like, what the fuck are you trying to, you know, what are you doing to him? What are you trying to do? Look, it could work out well. He could beat Holloway, but like, yeah, that's the issue with it as well. But a great win for Jigga. And look, Cub, say what you want about Cub, he takes the fucking hard fights. He gets in there against these new up and comers all the time, and he throws down with them. And look, sometimes you're the windscreen and sometimes you're the fly, and unfortunately for Cub this time he was the fly. But look, I'll always look forward to a Cub Swanson fight, and he's a good test in the UFC for guys like this. And it's unfortunate, I suppose, that he is that now, but he's had a very good career right at the top. And look, Cub will win fights again, I'm sure, but it was definitely Jigga's night last night. So this Ion Cutelaba Dustin Jacoby fight, first of all, I think Ion Cutelaba needs to get cut from the UFC, to be honest. This shit at the weigh-ins, I don't know if you saw it, Graham, they were facing off. Cutelaba went up, caught Jacoby behind his neck, like palmed the back of his neck and like pulled him forward. Just a disgraceful fucking thing to do, like at the weigh-in. Like the weigh-ins are there, or the stare downs are there after the weigh-ins, just to get a few photos, a bit of promo, go back, and he'll fucking fight tomorrow. Like, you're fighting tomorrow. And this has been a team, I think it was maybe on one of my news headline shows over on Patreon during the week, that I was talking about this with something else. It's like, these lads, they're paid to fight in the cage. We know they're tough, you know? We know these guys are tough, and these ladies as well. We know it. They don't need to show it. They don't need to be going out there fucking assaulting people in public when they're not getting fucking paid for it. Why are the commissions not stepping in? Why is the UFC not stepping in? He's done this a couple of times now. And like Cutelaba, he needs to be suspended, or something needs to happen. It's bullshit. Like, imagine Jacoby prepared for this whole fight, and, you know, the commission called it off, or whatever happened
with Jeremy Stevens.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, but I think a lot of the guys are just trying to promote the fight, trying to make their fight more interesting to the fans. And, you know, people might ask, like, you know, the casual fan, if there's a fight coming, they might ask, did anything happen at the weigh-ins? Was there any, like, you know, any incidents or whatever? People like that stuff, you know.
Yeah, but like, I think you can do like a
the
really
UFC
good...
and Dana aren't too worried about it, but yeah, the commission should be on people warnings and stuff. But I wouldn't see it as too big of a problem. Like, as long as, you know, it was very unfortunate the Jeremy Stevens one when the fight got called off. It was kind of a strange, bizarre fucking injury, but you know, it wouldn't have happened if he hadn't tried to push him across the room. This
one was worse though. This one was like, I was surprised he wasn't hurt, because he fucking tore him forward. Like, it was, I don't know, I thought it was so bad. Like, and it's like, imagine if that Jacoby was injured or something was called off like that. This guy has put probably fucking 10 weeks of his life or 8 weeks of his life or whatever into preparing for this fight. And okay, he might, you know, they might pay him or they might not pay him. We don't know about the UFC. They toss a coin sometimes to the side. But like, he's not getting his opportunity to fight, to move his record on, to move his career on, because of this fucking bullshit your man trying to do so someone will click on it, so it'll be on, you know, you'll get 100,000 views on Twitter for a day and everyone forget about it. Like, I genuinely think as well, if you just go up right into someone's face and fucking stare them down and talk shit at them, that will get just as much. You know, that will get as, or try to get them to push you or something. You know, I think there's a lot better ways of doing it than he does. Or even like, you know, Tony Ferguson, the way he does something weird and stuff like that. There's ways of doing it. Like, yeah, it was really bad. But the fight itself, this was one of those fights where I was watching it. I was like, this could be any score, because I think there was 3 possible scores in this fight, and we got the 3 possible scores. That first round, was it a 10-8? I was listening to the commentary, right, and Bisping was saying, this is definitely a 10-8. And at that time when he said that, I was like, is it? And then like another few of those elbows came, and he punched him, hit him with a lot of hammer fist kind of, and what's that part of your arm? Arm punches. I don't know, what's it called? Forearms to the face. And I was like, maybe it is a 10-8. You know, it was one of those ones where it was like borderline, I think, and it was very close to being a 10-8. I probably would have given it a 10-8. And in the next 2, I thought Jacoby definitely won the third, and I thought the second was very close, and, you know, probably would have given it to Jacoby as well. So I would have been on the 28-28 side. If you had given one of those rounds to Cutelaba and made it 29-28, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Or if you had given it 10-9 in the first round and 29-28 Jacoby, I don't think there's anything wrong with that as well. So all those cards are very easily explained. Like,
yeah, I think like Cutelaba didn't deserve to lose the fight. You know what I mean? It was like, it would have been harsh if he had gotten the decision against him. And I think I probably wouldn't have had it at 10-8, but I can see why it was given a 10-8. Like, it was on the verge, it was on the edge, as kind of you mentioned. You probably say it probably was. I'd probably say maybe wasn't, but maybe I'll go back and watch it and think otherwise.
Yeah, like it was one of those where, like, you could have had Cutelaba ahead by 3 points after the second round, but then he still lost, you know, in your card, which makes it look really bad, but it's not. It's just, you know, it's one of those things as well. Look, I haven't gone on a judging rant in a long time, and I maybe won't go on a rant here as well, but like, I've seen a lot of this stuff kind of creeping back in lately about, I saw Dan Stubb tweeting yesterday, I think, and I have great respect for him, but he was like talking about ways that fighters can be like hurt and stuff, and he's like, crap judging is on him. I'm like, we talk about this non-stop, and I feel like, you know, having spoken to judges and having looked at every fight with the criteria a lot over the last while, that doesn't happen. It really is very rare. Now, it's happening a little bit more recently in non-UFC promotions, I think, because some of the promotions have bubbles, and they can't get the judges from, say, the UFC cards into maybe a PFL or maybe a Bellator bubble because of the whole coronavirus thing. So that's an issue. But in the UFC, I just don't think that's happening as much anymore. I'm not seeing these big robberies. I just, look, we have to think, or have to remember, a close fight is a close fight. You could have someone up 20-18 at the end of the second round after 2 very, very close rounds, and the person judging it might have the other person up 20-18. That doesn't mean it's a bad card. That doesn't mean you're not right. That doesn't mean they're not right. It just means that it's very, very close. MMA is very close. We have to remember that. Sometimes, you know, we want someone to win, or we bet on someone to win, or whatever, and we, you know, maybe turns us that way, or we just think this is the way it's going. We have to take a step back at all times and think, is it the way it's going? Is it actually the way it's going? Have I looked at the criteria exactly and judged it that way? Because that's what the judges are doing. Like, the judges are sitting there and they're thinking about the criteria in their heads. They're thinking about the 3Ds, and they're thinking about, is that shot more than that shot? Is that shot closer to finishing? Is that submission, was that on? Is that submission not on? Is that submission almost hurting someone? Is that takedown, did it score anything? Did he get hurt with the takedown? You know, all these different things. We have to remember that. And sometimes there's one punch. Sometimes there's one little bit of a submission. Sometimes it's just taking someone down and not taking more damage that secures you the round. You know, it happens like that. It's a very intricate, delicate situation, judging a fight. And we're very lucky that we have it written out exactly for us to tell us how we're supposed to look at it and how we're supposed to judge it. And people don't look at that, and people don't see it and do it the way they want to do it themselves. That's the wrong way to do it. You can't do it that way. And if you do it that way and then get mad about judging, there's no one to blame on yourself, you know. And it's creeping back in. A lot of people are doing that, and I've been giving out them for the last year, but because of doing that, but I might need to do another bit of giving out again. But Yeah, I just saw a bit of that when I woke up this morning. I saw a few tweets about it and stuff, and I'm like, all right, is this what we're doing again? Are the best judges in the world, you don't trust him as much as you trust yourself, half watching the fight at home, drinking a fucking Bud Light, eating chicken wings? Like, I don't know. But anyway, down through the card again, there's one big thing as well that happened. So I didn't see all.
Are you saying you wouldn't trust him to judge a hot dog contest?
No. Would you trust me now to judge a hot dog eating contest? I feel like I've done enough, Graham. I've done enough backing of.
We'll have to ask Ben. He'll let us know if you can be trusted to judge a hot dog contest.
I probably should be at this age. Sean Strickland and Krzysztof Jotko, 3 rounds for Strickland. You know, back and forth for 3 rounds on the feet, nothing to write home about. Dashvili, Stamen. I think Dashvili is a little bit overrated, to be honest. Although his striking looked a bit better in this fight, but I don't rate Stamen that highly. He's a tough, kind of gritty veteran who is good all over, but like, I don't know. I'm just not sold on Dashvili yet. I think he's a lot of improving to do, and I don't think, like, this stat, and he didn't do it as much last night, but this stat of like taking people down over and over and over again, well, that's not a great stat. Like, unless you're, and he does smash them a bit, so his takedowns do score because he's thumping lads to the ground when he does take them down. But I feel like you need to get on the ground. You need to be landing shots to be scoring a lot. And look, he's not letting other guys score, so I suppose he is winning fights. But when you get to the higher level and you get against guys like a fucking, a Jose Aldo or whoever it might be, or a Sandhagen at the top of the level, and they're not at the top of the division, they're not letting you throw them around like that. Like Stamen here kind of wasn't as well. You're going to struggle a little bit more. But look, he got a good win here, and he deserved it. It was a relatively close fight for a couple of the rounds, but I think Dashvili definitely deserved it. Before we get to this Pinheiro Marcos fight, was there anything on the undercard, Graham, that stuck out to you? I know I didn't see all of these fights, but I'm reliably informed that TJ Brown versus Kai Kamaka the third was a very good fight. I got up and I saw there was 5 decisions in a row, 2 of them split, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not watching them. So did you watch any of them? What do you think, Graham? This is your time to shine. Your report for these fights. Go on.
Yeah, I saw them all live. I thought that Brown decision, I don't know about that. Like, I thought the first and the third were very close, but I thought Kamaka won every single round, to be honest. And one of the Adelaide Bird scored at 30-27 for Kamaka, and the other two, Saldamada and Michael Bell, scored at 29-28 for Brown. It was a good close fight, but I think that was the wrong decision there. No. But conveniently, the defender of all scorecards didn't see that one.
I'm going full Arsene Wenger on that.
Convenient.
I actually didn't see it, but I will go back and watch it, and I'll let people know what they think. What's your the other ones were all decisions. Who cares? Pinheiro versus Marcos. What did you think of this? Before you go, I've strong thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on it? This upkick DQ. What did you think, Graham?
I think she's lucky to be alive. Yeah, she get the neck brace out and.
Oh God. Kiefer Crosby. What was your man's name? Michael Jackson, wasn't it? That Kiefer Crosby fought that time. Was that his name?
Yeah, I believe he's still in hospital with a broken neck.
Shimon! Yeah. I don't know. What was the reaction to this online last night when it happened? Was everyone saying that she hammed it up? Like, was everyone saying?
I actually did. I didn't see the reaction online at the time, but I'm sure it was amateur dramatics. I'm sure, and not many people were buying that. It wasn't very good acting.
It was terrible. It was the most clear hamming up of all time. There was absolutely nothing fucking wrong with her. She's like, if that happened to me or you, and we went falling back like that. Fair enough.
That happens in like soccer and stuff though, football, like rugby and stuff. You just catch a fucking, and you're like, come on, like it wasn't this flush thing. Like,
no,
you're fine. You've taken bigger punches. Like
she took bigger punches. She took bigger punches in that fight. She's a professional fighter. She knows how to take a punch. She can take, she could take a bit of damage like that. This was absolutely 100% without a shadow of a doubt acting. And I'm not a one to come out and say this. I'm usually like, and as well, I like when people ham up DQs. They should take DQs when it's a really bad shot. this was a small little one. This was the type of one where you would take it, you'd get back into the guard and you keep fighting, and the referee would kind of warn you, or he might like stop and say, "Are you okay?" And you just go back fighting. This was not a fight finishing shot. Look, I suppose the referee, it was a tough job for Mark Smith because of the way she hammed it up so bad. It was embarrassing. If you're Luan Pinheiro, it was completely and utterly embarrassing. You have to feel bad for Randa Marcos. Okay, she made a mistake. She made an error, fair enough, and the right call was made there. But, like, this was absolutely acting to the highest order. She was not hurt enough for the fight to end. She was not hurt enough nearly even from to be fucking broken up. This was nothing. It was absolutely fucking nothing. And it was complete, it was disgraceful, like. It was absolutely fucking disgraceful. And, I'm surprised they didn't call it out in the broadcast. And I think Ariel tweeted about it, and he was like saying, I'm glad Felder called it the way he saw it. And then someone replied to me, he goes, like, it's not always easy to say, like, the right thing on the broadcast or something like that. I was like, well, what's that about? I don't know. So, you could tell by Bisping and Felder that they knew. And you could tell at the very end as well, just when, like, the coverage of this fight was in, and they both went like, It was the most obvious fucking bullshit ever, but yeah, however, it was it was crazy, and Luana Pinheiro got her bonus and she got her win, but I don't think she got any fans after this anyway. It was pretty scandalous, but however,
hopefully she can recover and
hashtag pray for Luan. Yeah, so there you go. As well, before we get to next week's card and some of the other stuff as well, make sure to join our fantasy league over at FightPix. So go to fightpix.com or go to your iOS or Android store, download the app, and join us in our fantasy league. If you go to add league, search Severe MMA, you will find us there. So at fightpix.com and join us in there. I don't think I had the greatest night of ever last night. I think one of the lads over in the
another bad one though.
Yeah, one of the lads sent it in. I think I'm still like in 8th place or something like that, but I was my last few weeks haven't been great. Do you know what I'm great at? And it's not part of our group, but it's the Bellator picks. My Bellator picks are absolutely fucking fantastic. I always get them right. I went like...
because it's just like fucking like absolute cans getting...
They're brilliant. Out of 23 Bellator fights on 2 cards, I got 22 of them right. Or 23 out of 24. Crazy. So at the top of our league, Kaelin is number 1 at the moment.
And were they all the betting favourites?
I think so, yeah. I'm number 5 in the league. Going down through it here. Aaron is number 14. Graham, still looking for you. Our boy K-Doc, who's a great lad, is number 20. Our boy Hallberg, number 23. Graham, you're down here. Severe MMA, number 26. Not great. Philly, the legend,
not
31.
Great, but haven't missed a week,
Yeah.
Up slowly.
Sean Denny, the legend, the expert, down in 37 with Ken Allen just behind him, Cork's very own. So there's a lot of lads there. Harry Powell, but he's beautiful hair. Actually, I think he cut it off now, but he's in the top 50. Our boy Theo Lander, who's over doing great work in Florida last week. He's in the top 60 or 70 there as well. So yeah, check it out on fightpix.com. Download the app. You'll see the blue and white app, or if you just go to severemma.com, you will see the link on our podcast page, and click that there and get onto it and see how it's going. Right, so next week's UFC card has no headliner as of yet. It was supposed to be Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. I thought they might have announced it last night. I was saying it to the lads this morning. They said they're still looking for a main event. Looks like Marina
Rodriguez, Michelle Waterson's been around.
Has that? Yeah, and I think I don't know, has it just been announced? But it looks like it is going to be the main event. But apparently they were looking for someone to be rebooked with Sandhagen. He kind of refused that, and he said he wants to keep this fight. So they said, grand. Giga Chikadze last night offered to fight Cowboy in the headliner. We'll get to Diego Sanchez in a second. But yeah, it looks like Marina Rodriguez versus Michelle Waterson is going to be the headliner. Not a bad fight. Michelle Waterson, I think, is a bit of a star, and she, people like her as well. And for Rodriguez, 13-1-0.
You know what? That's the only one, like, if he was to beat Cerrone, it's a huge name, but it doesn't really, make it so he can't, get a couple of fights in before he fights for a title. So, Cerrone's always up for it.
What Giga is 135 though, and Cerrone I think was scheduled to fight at 170. That might be a bit of an issue,
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a fun fight there, and I think it's a very, very winnable fight for Gigi.
Do you? Even he's the 135? I don't know. Or is he 140, 145, is he?
Yeah, I think it's a... I think it's a...
145, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he fought Cub Swanson, probably 155 is probably a weight class that he could fight at. I know this fight is, I'm sure Nolan will probably have to be 170, but he isn't the biggest 170er. Like, if they threw that together, I wouldn't be against it, but it's unlikely to happen. Obviously, Cerrone always pushes for these kind of things, and this card is already
it's not a bad card though. I think it's a good card.
Fallen by the wayside.
Yeah, I don't know. It's at the top it has, but Brotwell versus Linz, okay, not the great fight in the world. Hebas versus Hill, I like that fight a lot. Magny versus Neal, I love that fight. Diego Ferreira versus Gregor Gillespie, that's a good fight. Phil Hawes versus Kyle Daukaus, I like that as well. There's some good fights here, to be honest. And it's not one that the casuals are going to be falling over themselves to watch, but Ludovic Klein versus Mike Trizano as well. I like this card, and I'll definitely be tuning in to watch probably the main event of this when I fall asleep again next Saturday night. But sure, it's a bit of crack anyway. We'll see how it goes. But did you Diego? So yeah, we mentioned Cowboy there, and he was scheduled to fight Diego Sanchez on this, but there was loads of fights supposed to be on this. So I'm looking at Topology here, thanks to our friends over there. Diego Sanchez, Donald Cerrone, Holly Holm, Juliana Pena, Jimmy Flick, Francisco Figueiredo, Modafari versus Santos, and a few more as well. Obviously, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw all fell off of this. But the whole Diego Sanchez Cerrone one, and Diego, what has happened this week? The videos came out of Joshua Fabia, his life coach, seemingly trying to talk down to Paul Felder, Megan O'Leary, John Anik, and a few more, and them absolutely just butchering him as a human being, which was great to see. Then he put out a video of him talking to, I think his name is Hunter Campbell, one of the head guys in the UFC and in kind of association with Endeavour these days, and he basically said, look, if Diego doesn't feel like he can compete, if you think he can compete, we're going to pull this fight. We don't want, in a few years, someone coming back saying that they told us they didn't feel physically fit to compete, then there's something seriously wrong with them, and we just let him compete anyway. Which I think, look, he's looking after his own back, but that is also fair enough. And he goes, if you want to compete, let's get Diego to medicals, let's do all of this, and we'll get the ball rolling, which is no problem. But this Joshua Fabia, and the fight didn't happen because obviously something fell around with that, and it seems like it was more the medicals than anything else that stopped it from happening. It says Sanchez withdrew here. He's been released from the UFC now, and we'll talk about Diego maybe as a legend and as a fighter in a second. But what do you think of this whole Joshua Fabia situation? It just seems like this guy is crazy altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, he just really put his foot in everything and done a massive disservice to Diego. People are Diego's obviously you can there's been some funny moments you can make fun of him over the years, and all the cost check stuff going back a long time was very funny and all, but he definitely is like a legend in the UFC, and he's been in a lot of good fights, and he's given it his all for a lot of years, and he's been an important figure. People forget how important those first few Ultimate Fighters even were to the UFC, and how that transformed the company from, nearly out of business to over 4 billion in value. So he was a big part of that. I know there was other guys there as well. He wasn't wasn't carrying it on his back or anything, but I think all this shite from this life coach just, is making Diego a bit of a laughing stock. Which is unfortunate, and it's obviously cost him this fight here, and maybe it is better that Diego Sanchez doesn't fight, because I think there was a stat going around fucking 3 or 4 years ago now that he'd taken over 1,000 shots to the head in the UFC alone, not including the Ultimate Fighter and his other fights outside the UFC. And then all the gym, Diego Sanchez in the gym, I'm sure, is biting down on his fucking mouthpiece and going for just who he is. But yeah, maybe it's better he didn't fight, but the circumstances around it with this guy is just fucking. Diego needs to shut the guy up, disassociate with this idiot.
I think Dana White called him a weirdo creep, and that's a good description, to be honest. He just, like, I talked about it this week on the Patreon podcast.
That's a good description.
It's a good description, like, I feel bad, like, but, like, what else? What are we supposed to say? I actually, look, as like a life coach or as a coach or whatever, I actually don't think it made that much of a difference to Diego over the last few years, because I think, look, Diego's at a stage of his career, as you said there, 1,000 punches. He's taken more punches than anyone should take, and probably more punches than any fighter should take as well. And I don't think he wants someone to tell him that, to be honest, if you're Diego. Like, you're Diego Sanchez, this is what you are. You're a fucking warrior, and you're going to go out. Diego's going to keep going until he can go no more. And he's probably going to keep going past that as well. That's what Diego Sanchez is, and let's be honest. And I think he wants someone who tells him that he can make him young. You know, Diego wants a snake oil salesman. You know, that's what Diego wants, and he found one. And I think that's grand to have, like, in the background at home, someone reassuring you, or in training or whatever. But when that guy becomes like your voice, and that guy becomes the problem with him is he's trying to become a character himself, and he's trying to get famous off of Diego's name. Like, if he was just a snake oil salesman in the background taking his 15%,
it's all about the clout. He's getting what he wants. We're talking about him now. Dave is talking about him. You know, he's getting exposure, and he probably thinks that's great, but you know, a lot of people are looking at him thinking, stay away from this guy. Yeah. So, he's getting what he wants, but what he wants, or what he thinks he's getting, maybe isn't beneficial to, you know, who's going to hire this guy. I always thought, you know, people were giving out about Ido Portal, and I think he's a similar sort of, like, mind coach, if you want to say something like that. But he was a guy who his Instagram used to be on private, and he was kind of in the background, and then he kind of slipped away, and no one hears from him anymore. Like, I remember Carlos Condit had a lad as well. He was having, like, fucking climbing trees and stuff like that, but he kind of was always in the background, and people don't even fucking remember his name or anything like that. Like, sometimes fighters need that, and these fighters are fucking weirdos. Let's be honest. And they need, like, reassurance and people to help them to believe that they're the best and all. You saw that Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas thing last week. I'm the best. I was like, that's fucking the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Tony Robbins stuff as well. Like, you know, it works for some people. It does. And if it works, it works. And that's absolutely, like, the secret. A lot of bullshit. Conor McGregor became a champion, and he says, you know, it worked for him. If it works for you, it works for you. Like, sometimes going to mass and praying works for people, and you hear boxers all the time saying it, you know, God got me. You know, it's all of that. No problem. But if, like, that thing is trying to get, you know, all of your, as human, clout is the perfect word. He's just trying to get clout from Diego Sanchez, and, like, I think someone said his whole program is like the journey to self-awareness or something, and he's like the least self-aware man ever. Everyone can see it. It's so fucking. Well, that's good. He calls it the journey. He's on the way to it. He hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, indeed. And that's a good way to, I suppose, in the chat about him. But on Diego himself, look, I think his time, Diego to me is he is the most fun fighter to ever step into a cage, ever. He's a UFC Hall of Famer. He's just brilliant. It was always great value. He was, you know, and there's a place as well for weirdos in MMA. I spoke about it last week with Rose Namajunas. Look, she's a bit of a weirdo, you know, and so is Diego. And we've had weirdos down. I think Prohachka is a bit of a weirdo. It's coming, Diego. Exactly. Yeah, we've always had weirdos in MMA down through the years, and we've been able to accept them and to get a graw for them. And I think Diego Sanchez is one of them as well. And you know, his classic fights. People like them. Like, you look at the Ultimate Fighter, they bring in all these, like, you know, Diego Sanchez personalities like Junie Browning and. Remember, but they kept trying to bring in these guys to be like Diego Sanchez, because that's interesting. You know, people are into that. People want to see this crazy guy. What's he going to do next? He's a bit of a loose cannon. People like the holding the cross, shouting yes, all that stuff. Like, you know, he's connected with the fans, even though he's a complete weirdo.
He really is. But yeah, look, we'll probably see Diego Sanchez popping up somewhere else again anyway, and I don't think it'll be the last we see of Diego or Joshua. So
Diego never die.
Diego never die, indeed. So the big there's a couple of cards next week as well. With I suppose the Bellator one is the biggest one coming up, which we will chat about. But PFL also have a card coming up next week. They have Verdum versus Ferreira as the main event in that one. Kyle Harrison is back as well. Always fun to see her in there. She's fighting someone with 26 fights, 16-10, which is kind of not the best record in the world, but it'll be fun to see her back as well. Muhammad Usman is on this card. Larissa Pacheco, who I believe we saw in the UFC as well. Caitlin Young versus Cindy Dandois. So you'll see the next level of striking in this as well. That should be fun as well. Just while we're on PFL as well, Rory McDonald returned this week. Looked absolutely fantastic. Beautiful rear naked choke over Curtis Melinder. Your boy Ray Cooper III as well, the PFL World Series of Fighting legend, got a beautiful arm triangle win. Zhao Jefferino versus Gleison Tibau had a close fight. I know Gleison lost this fight, but I'd like to see Gleison versus Rory McDonald. I don't know why, I just think that'd be a fun fight, and Gleison's up 170 now as well. Emiliano Sordi beat Chris Camozzi by unanimous decision. In that one, something happened in that fight that I can't even fucking remember now, but I talked about it on one of the Patreon podcasts during the week. What happened in that fight? It was I don't know, I can't remember. Was it a close decision or something? I can't even fucking remember. My mind is fucking shot. But Tom Lawler versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Oh yeah, that was the one. Sorry, the Chris Camozzi fight. That was the one where one judge gave it a 10-8 in the first round, and it absolutely wasn't the 10-8, and that's an issue. There's a couple of inexperienced judges going around, and it definitely wasn't a 10-8, but however. So that PFL card was a pretty good card, and then there was a one card as well on TNT, which myself and Ian will go into in more detail on the Chasing Pack. I think we're doing one this week, if not the week after anyway. But Eddie Alvarez came back here and lost to Ray Young Ok. Anil Nasang lost to Rina Derrida for the heavyweight title. Shinya Aoki got a beautiful armbar win over Edward Feilang on this one as well. And Colby Northcutt as well got a win, Sage's sister. But Umar Kane, the Rug lost. Also that Oak versus Eddie Alvarez fight, this ONE FC scoring is just ridiculous. Like, they scored the fight as a whole fight, and Oak hurt Eddie Alvarez really badly at the start. I think it should have been finished a couple of times, and then from that point on, like, Oak has just won the fight, so we're just fighting to the end so he can pick up the victory. It makes no sense, and I don't understand when they score the fight in totality why they have rounds. It makes absolutely zero sense to me, but yeah, however, I'm trying to get onto ONE FC at the moment. If anyone has an email for them, let me know. I'm trying to get what their actual scoring system is, because it makes no sense. But Rug, we talk about matchmaking. This was all-time bad matchmaking. They put him in against a guy with really good wrestling and really good striking. And Rug, I don't know if you saw the end of this, Graham, but Rug did a bit of acting himself and got hit with he actually did, on the replay, the shot looked harder than it was initially. But he took a shot after the end of the second round. It looked to be to the neck, but not fully a knockout blow, but he went down. 5 or 6 fucking ambulance crews came in, had to take him out and all, and they ended up giving it a TKO KO win to Kirill Grishenko, which, was it the fairest thing in the world? I don't think it probably was, but he definitely hammed it up a little bit here. But I would definitely not do that rematch. He's not ready for it. But it was a bit sad to see. Like, this was the most idiotic matchmaking I think I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Why? You have a guy who's like a star, who people like, who people tune in for. He's fucking 3 fights in. And okay, you're giving another guy who's 3-0 or whatever, but like, this guy is, you could watch this guy for 30 seconds and go, no, do not give him to Rug. Like, you could immediately see, do not, just cancel this fight as it's fucking happening. But look, these things happen in fucking, where was it on? Myanmar or somewhere like that, was it? Where was it on? Singapore. These things happen in Singapore. And I suppose the big event coming up next week for MMA fans and Irish MMA fans as well, especially, this Bellator card is really, really fantastic. Unfortunate that Anthony Johnson versus Yoel Romero is off. Yoel Romero has an eye injury, according to Ariel Helwani. Anthony Johnson will now face Jose Augusto Aviziedo on a card which also features Juan Archuleta fighting for the bantamweight title against Sergio Pettis in a fantastic fight. You could see maybe James Gallagher fighting the winner of that, or maybe he'll need another fight, but he'll be thereabouts. We have Michael Venom Page versus Derek Anderson. Great to see MVP back. Josh Hill versus Rafian Stotts. And some, Henry Corrales on the undercard here. We have Eric Perez on the undercard. We're Patchy Mix as well, who James Gallagher is supposed to fight, is on this. Lorenz Larkin is fighting Rafael Carvalho even. But obviously Patchy Mix versus James Gallagher was supposed to be on this. Brian Moore versus Eric Perez was supposed to be on this, and unfortunately fell off. But the one Irish fighter we have on this is a huge fight for Peter Queally against Patricky Pitbull. If Peter Queally wins this, he's right thereabouts at the 155-pound division. An absolutely huge fight, Okay, Patricky isn't as good as his brother, but he's won some really good fights over the last while. He's beaten the likes of Luis Gustavo, Kawajiri, Ryan Scope, Roger Huerta, Benson Henderson, Josh Thompson over the last 3 to 4 years as well. He's been in there with the likes of Michael Chandler and Marcin Held and others as well, and he's fought Eddie Alvarez, and he's fought David Rickles all down through the years. So this for Peter Queally, who has been, a veteran of the Irish scene. He's 18 fights in now. This is the biggest fight of his career, the biggest opportunity of his career, and it's a tough fight. It's a very tough fight, but it's a big fight for Irish MMA coming up next week, Graham, isn't it? With Peter Queally against Patricky Pitbull.
Yeah, it is. It's a great opportunity for Queally. He's had some big fights in his career, but this is definitely the biggest fight. Somebody coming on off a recent win over Benson Henderson, known to be sniffed at here, and Queally's a very tough-nosed guy, and he'll cause problems for anybody. But this is a hard fight. I think you mentioned the kind of Pitbull's kind of credentials, or who he's fought there, and he's been fighting very high-level guys for a long time, and in there with the best Bellator have to offer. And Queally's definitely a game fighter, but he lacks that consistent high level opponent that Pitbull is used to. But Queally's definitely not to be underestimated here. If Pitbull thinks this is going to be an easy fight, Queally never makes it easy for his opponent. He's always willing to kind of grind it and put in the hard grappling work, and I think it served him well. But I think in this fight, I just think he's on the feet. He's just going to be a little bit outclassed, and that will probably be how Pitbull wins this fight. But if Queally can get a couple of takedowns and make it a scrappy fight, then he definitely that's his best route to victory. But I'd find it hard to pick Queally in this one.
Yeah, look, I think that's the call as well, definitely. I think Patricky will be a big favourite coming into this fight. I think he just might be a little bit, as you said, a little bit better on the feet, maybe a little bit faster. But I think Queally has been changing for over the last few years, and I've actually asked him about this in an interview before, kind of adjusting his style from, we saw him out in Africa when he was fighting out there, and I always thought he was going to be more of a Pindred style, where he pull guys to the ground and push them against the cage, and he's very good cardio, I think, when he does that as well. And he's kind of changed into more of a fighter on the outside, where he throws his big kicks and comes in with a lot, a striking based fighter more than anything else.
Yeah.
I think if he can adjust that.
It's funny because he kind of started off the other way. Like I remember years ago in Cage Contender, he was like a big leg kicker. He threw a lot of leg kicks, and he kind of stayed on the outside and kicked. And then as he kind of progressed, he became a more of a wrestling heavy base.
Yeah, that's what he said to me as well. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, so if he can blend that, and we always talk about blending things in, if he can manage to blend those things in, but I feel like pushing Patricky against the cage, taking away maybe a bit of that pop, a little bit of that power, could be the way for Queally to go. But look, that's easier said than done as well. But look, this is a huge fight for Irish MMA outside of Conor McGregor and his big wins. If he could win this, there aren't many as big a wins as this in the history of Irish MMA at this sort of level. So a big opportunity for Peter Queally, and big opportunity for Munster as well to get on the the world of MMA at the very top. So fair best luck to Peter. Obviously, I'm sure all the Irish MMA fans and stuff will be behind him going into this. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to the card in general, and the week coming up as well. We will have loads of stuff obviously over on our Patreon during the week, patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast. It's the 2nd of the month now, so the perfect time to sign up. Price of a pint a month, the sub for less than a pint of a sub. So price of a sub even. So sign up there. I have this new show out. It's the news headlines. So I go through some of the headlines from the day. I'd probably do it a couple of times a week, see how it goes. People seem to like it so far, and if we get enough subscribers, it might be a daily thing we do. And if you like it, let us know. Please sign up and support us. Graham needs his new mic, so we've that to pay for as well. So if you want to join a fiver to get Graham a new mic, now is the time, and that's how you do it. So yeah, that's it from us, Graham. Best of luck in the old Man United versus Liverpool match if it happens here in the next 20 minutes.
They got them hooligans off the pitch, did they?
I'm delighted. Man United need to be fucking railing against those dirty bastards.
Yeah, the fans should be definitely protesting, but the club should be having some security to not let the fans.
That's true, yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, that is true. But however, I hope the Liverpool bus got there okay. If it was the other way around, I wouldn't be so sure. But anyway, thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And all that's left to do is give you the inspirational quote of the week. Your future is more important than your past. We'll see you next Tuesday, or probably Sunday, maybe Monday. We'll see you then. Good luck. Welcome everybody. It's episode 310 of the Severe MMA podcast, joined today by the Dennis Irwin